And that is the only time I've ever done that, where I just invest on the spot after a 15, 20-minute pitch.
For those who are watching us on YouTube, I'm going to share my screen and put a video of Mandy, of the Mandy device, so that you can see how it looks like. So tell us a little bit how it works.
Well, first of all, I take no credit for Mandy. That is the first thing that I need to clarify. Mandy is a company that was started by a Swedish engineer. His name is Sammy, who is somebody that was burned out. And it's one of those serendipitous things where he met another Swedish engineer and they ended up making a product. So one of these engineers, who is a serial entrepreneur, basically burned out. And he was basically one of those people that was just go, go, go. And all of a sudden he just couldn't take it anymore. And he just burned out, and he was, he just completely broke down. So he got really into meditation. And, because of his personality, he got into meditation, and he got really into meditation. And then after that, he was thinking, well, what's the next thing? What else is out there that is even more powerful than this? And that's how he discovered neurofeedback. And as Sammy does, he got really deep into neurofeedback, and he started going and he started using the neurofeedback and the EEGs and all this. And he started traveling and going and doing all the treatments, and he started seeing all these improvements in his own issues and his own well-being. And he started diving deeper and deeper and deeper, to the point where he ended up buying the machinery, and he's, very costly machinery and all this. And then eventually, because he's a very inquisitive person, as most engineers are, he started having contact with a lot of the experts and a lot of the people from the neurofeedback world. And eventually he was led towards practicing on other people, not just practicing on himself. And that was basically how he ended up setting up a neurofeedback clinic in Stockholm, Sweden. Enter founder number 2, who is Rickard Eklof, who's an engineer that's been building touch screens for all the big companies for many, many years. And he walks in to the neurofeedback clinic for a consultation, and they meet and they start talking, and he takes a look at everything, and he says, there must be a better way of doing this. There must be a way of building this for the masses at a fraction of the cost. And he's one of those people with just unbelievable values that will trade, self-gain for the gain of the masses any day of the week. And that is how Mandy was born. And this is, by early 2018, they already were building things.
Well, that's quite incredible. It sounds to me like serendipity, when people magically meet each other, and then you come up with a very interesting product, right?
The funny thing about it is that I had never, when all of this is happening and the backstory that has built this company that I am running now, I have never heard of neurofeedback. I have never meditated. I know nothing about this space, and I have never heard of Mandy or, the reason why I ever got in touch with them was because about it was about 6 years before, when I was with Fishbrain, I met at an afterwork, because Fishbrain was like one of the cool companies in the ecosystem back then, and people knew that there was this Costa Rican guy that was helping scale it. And this guy had come up to me at an afterwork and added me on Facebook. And then 5.5 years later, he starts messaging me, "Hey, do you remember me? I've got this thing." I don't remember you. I don't know who you are. But he's like, "I've got this thing. It's amazing." And that happened to be Sammy. That happened to be one of the founders. And that is how I, as I always say, slipped on a banana peel and landed on Mandy. So I take no credit for absolutely anything.
Wow, that's a great story. You are a great storyteller too, right?
Well, the truth is colorful.
Well, does it work? So on another podcast, I had a guest who is also very successful. It's a Swiss company. They have invented a new keyboard, and he told me about how difficult it is for users to get used to new things. So we've been used to working with ADERTY or QWERTY keyboards for decades, and he explained me how difficult it is to actually rewire the brain. Is Mandy doing something for rewiring the brain, or what kind of effect can I expect from Mandy?
I think as we get deeper into this conversation, I'll get deeper into neuroplasticity and all these things, but I'm going to give you a little bit of my background after that stage. I'm going to keep kind of telling the story in a very non-scientific way because I am not a scientist, and I have learned this in my 40s. I have learned this very, very recently, and I've become so engulfed by it because of my own personal experience. When I actually eventually met Sammy after he had messaged me, I met him because I went to see another company of mine. So I went to visit the founders of another one of my companies, and they needed some advice on something. And I went there and I wrote, Sammy, all right, come show me what you're doing. And he comes and he brings me this device, this Mandy device. And he says, well, this device, it fixes this and it fixes that and it heals this and it heals that. And people do this. And it sounded like snake oil. And I asked him, well, who has invested? Because you could tell it was a very beautifully designed product that it looks like it was made by a big company. I could tell it was very sturdy. It was great quality. And, you know, I could see the research that they had done on signal quality and all these things. And it's like, these things cost a lot of money and a lot of time. And when I asked him, who has given you the money? He said, oh, it's the Swedish Innovation Agency, Vinnova, Almi Invest, Propel, EU Horizons 2020. When I saw that, my common sense thing kicked in and I said, look, they've done the due diligence. You're not just going to get money from these institutions by absolute bullshit, right? Then I grabbed the device. I did a session. I did my first session with Mandy. I used it. It's kind of a mind-blowing experience the first time. And you're struggling to control it and you don't really know how to use your brain. You don't know how to focus. Especially with me, I've got ADHD and I've always had anxiety issues, PTSD, just a lot of, wartime stories that have caused me to be to have a lot of issues for a very long time. And basically what I said to him after that session, I was very intrigued, and it was clearly like a weird sensation. And I said to him, if 90% of what you're saying is bullshit, I'm going to invest right now. And that is the only time I've ever done that, where I just invest on the spot after a 15, 20-minute pitch. And that is how my journey with Mandy started. But then what happened is they gave me a prototype, a device, which is prehistoric now in hindsight. A year ago is like 100 years at the pace that this company is evolving. And this is probably 6-7 months before Kickstarter. And I start using it every day. And I start making improvements. Literally within 3 weeks, I have people telling me, why are you so happy? You feel so positive. I had people that I trust and respect and that know me really, really well being like, there's something different about you. And that's what clicked in my brain. I'm like, okay, this must be the Mandy. This must be the Mandy. And I do feel great. And then eventually I realized that my reading was better. And I can extrapolate that to me being able to be focused. Now I work 16-hour days. I've always been fairly disciplined in some things and indisciplined in other things. For example, I train every day of my life at the gym. I lift weights. I'm a former athlete. I fast every day, and I've been doing it for over 1.5 decades, intermittent fasting. So I only eat at night. So there are some things that I'm very consistent, but there are things that I don't do. I don't read a book. I don't sit in front of a computer for 2 hours. It's impossible for me. I just can't keep the focus. And all of a sudden, these things I was able to do them in my 40s. And that's when the obsession kicked in. And that's when you would ask me, what time is it? And I would say, no, you don't want to know the time. Let me tell you about Mandy. And I just became that weirdo, And, but yeah, if it works, yeah, we can delve into exactly what it does and how it works. Sorry, I get passionate about this.
Well, not only are you a very good storyteller, but you're also a very good salesman.
Well, I'm actually not a salesman. The funny thing about it is I'm very passionate, but after Kickstarter, because we get a lot of We get a lot of publicity because of what we did on Kickstarter and stuff. I'm not even proud of the Kickstarter campaign. I'll tell you why. Because Kickstarter was never about money, and we ended up breaking, like, it was the biggest mental health related campaign in history and all that. I used to come out literally as we were breaking records, and my team was telling me, "Oh, let's announce records and stuff." I would literally come out. I can't get out of my way. I'm too transparent. And I would say, I don't give a shit about the records. What we care about is the early adopters. Now we have 4,000 early adopters. Now we have 5,000 early adopters. What we're doing is we're building people, a team of people that are going to go on this journey with us. I don't care about selling Mendis. I honestly,
evangelists.
well, I'll tell you, it's about learning. I'm a user. What I want. So when we launched on Kickstarter, there were a lot of people saying, and I'll get into how the technology works, but there was a lot of people that would come in and they would write, "Oh, this is bullshit. This is a scam. This sounds too good to be true." If you go back on Kickstarter and you see my comments, and I know a lot more now than I did then, but I still know very little, right? And when I took the job, I didn't want the job. I wanted Sriram Krishnan from Twitter to take the job. And I asked him. And then the founders asked me to take the job. And I said, "Look, I know nothing about science. I know nothing about the space. It would be offensive." And what they said to me is, "Yeah, but you believe in us." And that's why I took the job. And I called two monster names in the entrepreneurial world. And they said, "Yeah, do it. You don't need to know anything. You just need to listen, and you need to care about people, and you need to communicate. The rest will work itself out." And that's basically how the journey has been. But when people would come out and they would say, "Oh, this is a scam. This is bullshit. This doesn't work," my response was I would get on Kickstarter and I would write them, "Hi, my name is Moha. Here's some information about me, and this is my phone number." So if you go on Kickstarter, Kickstarter has my phone number everywhere. That's why thousands of people have my phone number. And it's been great. But basically what the technology does is it's an FNIRS technology, functional near infrared spectroscopy. So basically what it does is the headset that you showed now when you shared the video it's a measurement tool. That's what it is, which allows you to visualize and control the activity to the prefrontal cortex. So basically it will teach you to be able to manage the amounts of oxygenated blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. What this is going to do is it's going to play as part of an overall brain health system. Because Mendi is not only neurofeedback, but neurofeedback is a very powerful component of what Mendi does. But there's also other elements in it, in the brain health system, which I can get into as we go on.